Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the religious sciences, of the Islamic sciences, of course, translated by Walter James Kelly. We are on page 633, and we are still reading from chapter 9, an exposition of the difference in rank between the two positions by a tangible example. Immediately, what we have read during the last session is that we talk about two groups, Byzantines and Chinese, Byzantine and Chinese artists, who were entrusted to decorate walls, and a king. It was a competition, and the king put a curtain between both teams, and the Byzantines brought colors and painted their own painting on the wall. The Chinese did nothing except polishing the wall, polishing it so much so that when the curtain was lifted, when the veil was lifted, it reflected the reality on the other side, that painting, and the description is as if really it was enhanced. And the images, it's about the heart. If you keep polishing the heart, it will reflect reality. Reality will shine, but the heart needs to be polished. It needs to be cleansed. It needs to be purified. The heart has so many residue. The heart has so many veils. They need to be lifted. They need to be polished. They need Imam Al-Ghazali says, but whatever the truth of this matter, the heart of the believer does not die, nor is its knowledge erased at death, nor is clearness clouded. To this Hassan, and it must be a reference to Hassan Basri, rahimahullah, may God have mercy on him, referred in his saying, dust will not consume the seed of faith. Dust will not consume the seed of faith. We say from dust to dust, meaning when one is buried, it's a phase. The corpse must practically decay, and the one continues, the soul, the spirit, to have the knowledge. This knowledge is a means of access that brings him near to God, the Exalted. But what the heart has attained of knowledge itself, or what has attained of purity and the capacity to receive what knowledge writes upon the heart, does not enable it to dispense with more knowledge. There is no happiness for anyone apart from learning and mystical knowledge, and some degrees of happiness are more noble than others. Just as there is no wealth without money. For he who has a dirham is wealthy, and he who has storehouses crammed full is wealthy. The contrast between the different degrees of those who are happy is in accordance with their contrast in mystical knowledge and faith, just as the contrast between the different degrees of men of wealth is in accordance with the scarcity or abundance of their money. One might comment and say, because one might ask the question, why would someone who has a dirham be considered wealthy? Well, compared to someone who does not have a dirham at all, is definitely wealthier. I would say that a more accurate translation of the other wealthy who has storehouses crammed full, I think the Al-Khaza'in or Sahib al-Khaza'in, the second one is really about someone who has safes, not only one safe, like a closet, like a where money is stored. It's not about storehouses. It's about khaza'in. And crammed full, yes. Mutra'a, yes. So each one is wealthy, but there are degrees. The same thing about those who are who have that mystical knowledge. Now, in terms of material wealth, one is advised to look at those who are below his degree, below his level. And in terms of mystical knowledge, in terms of should look at those who are above him in degree. And this looking above is simply to encourage one in on this path to the hereafter, on this path to get near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not about envy. And تغبط, yes. And تحسد, no. Envy consumes the person who it's a negative energy that consumes its whoever wishes ill to people, because envy is it simply means that you are not happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on his servants, and that's dangerous. You are opposing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He distributed and you are not looking at your own share. The varieties of mystical knowledge, ma'arif, are lights, and believers do not run to meet God, the exalted, save by their lights. ولا يسعى المؤمنون إلى لقاء الله تعالى إلا بأنوارهم. قال الله تعالى: يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم وبأيمانهم. God exalted said, their light shining before them and on their right. It is related in narration, a prophetic narration. Some of them are given a light the size of a mountain, and some smaller. The last of them will be a man who is given a light on his big toe, which sometimes shines and again goes out. Whenever it shines, he puts his foot forward and walks, and it goes out, he stands still. They're crossing the traverse, as-sirat, is in accordance with their light. Then Imam Ghazali speaks about the speed, but before that, the speed of crossing the sirat. But the sirat is described as being really sharper than a sword and thinner than a hair. But let me put it this way: the sirat, it appears to me it has no plural in Arabic. It's one. So let's go back to the dua, really, the supplication. In the first chapter of the Quran, in Surah Al-Fatiha, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, the straight path. There is only one path. There's only one path. I think in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ drew a line, and he drew in just simply with a twig on the ground, parallel to it, and he did say that this is the path, the straight path. This is the path of God, a straight path. Then he drew a line to its right and to its left, and said, these paths, none of them except that it has a Satan, a devil, basically calling for it. And then he recited, وأن هذا صراطي مستقيما فاتبعوه ولا تتبعوا السبل فتفرق بكم عن سبيله. This is now all these ways secularism, because secularism, you are giving up something of your religion. There's no way. Secularism means giving up something of the religion. A separation. There's a big difference between calling for a theocracy. People think that maintaining a religion and religious life is a call for theocracy. No, it's not. But at the same time, the antithesis of this secularism, and we can see the end result today in many countries around the world, especially in Western countries. But other countries are following suit, really. And many major things became legalized in these systems, in these secular countries. Recreational drugs, as they call them, marijuana, gaming, which is gambling, extramarital affair, which is affairs, which is basically it's adultery, a call for abortion without any limitation when there is no euthanasia, calling it mercy killing, playing God, really playing God. So this is about and one can speak more about the Sirat. Now those who cross their speed, some of them cross in the twinkling of an eye. Some as a flash of light. Some as a flash of lightning, really. Barq. Some as the passing of a cloud. Some as a falling star. I think the falling star, the stars are not. I think it's because here, first of all, it says كانقباض الكواكب. Stars, that would be nujum. First of all, we talk about planets. This is the face value of it. I think this is a reference to meteors entering the the space of the earth, burning, really. And this is why people say the falling. And some as a charging horse. He who was given a light on his big toe crawls along on his face and hands and feet. One hand slips off, but he holds on with the other. And one foot slips off, but the other holds. The fire reaches his sides, but he keeps on in this way until he is saved. Thus the distinction in the faith of men is shown, where the faith of Bakr as-Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, to be weighed on one side of the scales, and on the other side that of all men except prophets and messengers. The first would tip the scale. This resembles the statement of him who said, were the light of the sun to be placed in the scales over against that of all lamps, it would preponderate. For the light of the faith of individuals among the common people is like the light of a lamp, and with some it is as the light of a candle. But the faith of the righteous, as-Siddiqun, gives light comparable to that of the moon and stars. And the faith of the prophets is as the light of the sun. For even as the form of the entire horizon, with all its broad expanse, is revealed in the light of the sun, while only a narrow corner of the house is revealed in the light of a lamp. Thus also is there distinction in the expansion of the breast by mystical knowledge. Sharh al-Sadr. So thus also is there a distinction in the expansion of the breast by mystical knowledge, and in the unveiling of the breadth of the world of spirits to the hearts of the mystics. So a narration tells us On the day of resurrection, the command will be given. Remove from the fire whoever has a mithqal of faith, or half a mithqal, or a quarter of a mithqal, or a grain, or an atom. This hadith is muttafaq alayh, narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. And I think there is one word missing from the beginning of the translation of this hadith in English. Remove from fire whoever has a mithqal of faith. Mithqal, let's put it this way, probably if we say the weight of an atom of faith, mithqal dharratin min iman. This is, of course, a mithqal is a standard weight, but still here, what qualifies this particular standard weight is the word dharra, which of course shows up in Arabic, does not show up in the English except at the very end. ونصف مثقال وربع مثقال وشعيرة وذرة. وشعيرة, maybe since we talk about already a grain or an atom, but the atom already shows up at the beginning, and since we talk about a grain of barley, and then dharra and dhura both are both look the same without any short vowels, and I think the first is the atom, which is, as I said, it's not translated, and the very last one, the context is that sha'ira is basically the grain, the barley as a grain, as a standard weight, or basically a corn in that order. All of this goes to show distinction in the degrees of faith, and that these quantities of faith do not prevent one from entering the fire. For if he entered, orders would be given to remove him first. Again, whoever has an atom's weight of faith in his heart does not deserve to abide forever in the fire, even though he entered it. So also is his statement, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, there is nothing that is better than 1,000 like it, except a man that is a believer, referring to the superiority of the heart of a Gnostic, Arif of God, the exalted, for it is better than 1,000 hearts of the common folk, the exalted. This hadith is a good hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you'll be superior if you are true believers. Maybe this is a reference to وَأَنْتُمْ لَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُمْ مُؤْمِنِينَ, thus giving preference to believers over Muslims, mu'min versus Muslim. So the first stage is Islam. The Iman is a higher level, and Ihsan is the highest. That you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you see Him, for if you don't see Him, He sees you. The one referred to is the believing Gnostic, and not the blind imitator. Suffice it, inshallah, for this session, and we'll begin the next one with the verse still within the same chapter. يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم الذين أوتوا العلم درجات. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God will raise those who have believed among you and those who are given knowledge by degrees. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us amongst them. Until then, inshallah, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.